Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of the Real People podcast. I'm really excited to have my friend Rob Epple here today. Rob is a comedian, a stand-up comedian to be specific. Rob, say hello.
What's going on? How we doing?
Rob, I'm better now that you're here. However, I want to. Rob and I go way back. St. Joe's Metuchen. That is eons ago, according to the calendar. But I'm really excited. I've been following Rob's journey. He's been, I see him. I just saw him at NJ 101.5. I've seen him on YouTube. I hope you'll check him out on YouTube as well, and all his other links. We'll be sure to share Rob's material here. But I saw Rob, and I was like, you know what? I have a podcast. Rob's interesting. Why don't I have Rob on and talk to him?
Oh my God! You think I'm interesting? Joke's on you, man.
I'm a big silly. So Rob, comedy is definitely an art and a science. And, you and I, we've known each other. We graduated high school in 2003. It's now 2023. We're young. But I'm really curious, it's been, tell me about your journey. I'm so curious, how's your journey? How did you find this calling? What was that eureka moment where you're like, I love this. I want to do this?
So, well, first of all, if to the listeners out there, Dan is way funnier than I've ever been in my entire life, and if you knew him in high school, you'd know that. Anytime you saw Dan moving, usually you saw a couple of people around him that were laughing and having a good time too. You were a goofball, but you were, I don't know the best way to describe it. Like you were a goofball, but with a professional
family show, Rob.
Well, what's that?
This is a family show.
Oh no, I'm not going to go nuts.
No,
Why did I curse?
Okay, no.
I do let him go, so you may have to edit me every once in a while.
No, you can say whatever you want.
No, but you were always a goofball, but with a professional look to you about it. Your approach to it was because even the teachers didn't know what to make of you. Is he joking or is he messing with me? What the hell? I like this guy. I don't know about, that's, you could tell. I remember Mrs. Butler, just looking at you
I was an enigma. There were times when we were in high school, so we went to a Catholic high school, and we were required to shave every day. And there were days I had such a thick shadow where I would shave, and no one would believe me. I would have detention, and no one. I'd be pleading, and because I had that reputation of being an asshole, they were like, "No, we don't believe you. You're going immediately to detention." And I was just like, "This is unjust." I just didn't know what to make of it. Craig Wash, who's one of my Facebook friends, I'll have to mention that I mentioned him. Notorious offender.
I love Mr. Wash.
He was my neighbor, and he was so quick to give me detention. And you know me. We have an intimate, almost borderline son mentor relationship, and I'm telling you the truth. Nope, detention. So.
Well, first of all, if Mr. Wash is listening, what up, CW? That guy is fantastic.
We will have to. We'll do a little CW shout out. But Rob, thank you for your kind words. Always good to take that quick stroll down memory lane. I appreciate it.
Yes, and you asked me a question. I'm sorry.
I did. I'm all about the questions. So the question actually was appropriate because we were talking about memory lane, and we can't get there without going back there. So I'm curious, what was your moment? There had to be a moment where you're like, wow, I love this. This is my calling. Is I want to do this. I want to be a stand-up comedian. So walk us through us. Tell us the backstory.
So my first times performing are going back 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. So I used to perform in school pageants. I used to be an idiot in the front of the class. I was always fearless. I never cared about standing up and talking to people and just being a goofball. So that's the way I was throughout grammar school. And then me and a buddy of mine, we wound up doing Who's on First, the Abbott and Costello routine, full dress, the whole deal. And I'll never forget this because I was in 5th grade, 11 years old, little fat kid, already sweating, which I'll do. That's why I got my fan on, because I'm always freaking sweating. If you watch the thing on New Jersey 12, you saw me sweating directly in front of you. Nuts. But yeah, little fat kid sweating up there because our music teacher didn't want to play any music to lead us in. And so I had to overcome a rough crowd already at 11 years old. So I started getting that going. I played Costello, so I got all the laughs, and I got my first laugh at 11 years old. And even then it was like, oh my God, that was amazing. And I did that stuff for a couple of years. And in high school, it turned into music a little bit. So I was like drumming, and I thought that was going to be the thing that I was going to do for the rest of my life. And I still play the drums. I still play all the time. But not long after high school was over, I went into the workforce. I didn't really go to college, and I was dating this girl, and she was like, "You're really funny. You should try comedy." And I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to get up and try, but I had no idea where to start. I had no idea where there were any shows going on. I had no idea, like, how do you do this? And I had no clue. I would watch comedians, and Dane Cook was like the hottest thing at the time. And I thought that I was going to go up there and I was going to be Dane Cook. Well, anyway, I found what they call a bringer show. It's, as a comic, you bring your friends and family to the show, and that's how you get stage time on the show. Now, truthfully, in retrospect, it's an evil thing what they do, because they make a ton of money on you. They pay you nothing. Maybe they give you a video if you're lucky, and perhaps 5 minutes with the headline. That's a bunch of crap. But anyway, I go and I do this. I brought like 30 people out, and then I did it. I had fun, and it was energetic, and it was great. And then somebody that actually headlined the show was like, "You know what? You got a good energy. I want to bring you on to just do this fundraiser I'm doing down the street on Saturday."
How great.
So I went and I joined them, and
scouted.
it was a 200-seat room, like a volunteer fire department, but like their hall, 200 seats. I hit the stage, and the first thing I said, I wasn't even trying. I got the whole crowd in a laughter. That was the moment. It's like, Dan, let me tell you something. Getting that laugh, it's like a drug. It hits you, you're hooked, and that's the moment that it happened. Carteret Volunteer Fire Department. I'll never forget that as long as I live. It was.
Time kind of slows down. You just feel it. Yeah, no, I hear that, and what a moment, and how cool that it's a fundraiser. Like, how cool that it's a good cause, and those can be the toughest crowds. Like sometimes, I think I'm not sure if you know, I work in fundraising, and if you hit the wrong note, you will lose that crowd. You know this better than I am. So I don't know why I'm telling you, but
I agree with you 100%.
Because fundraisers can be sensitive topics. It can be, you don't always know what's gonna hit people the right way, but you did it. You knocked it out of the park, and here you are. Post Carteret fundraiser for the firemen. Thank them for their service. It's a calling, and here you are. That's so cool. So you did that show. Give us the next few steps. How's it been since?
It's a grind. So I've had so many people tell me, like, they want to be a comic, they want to try it, they want, how do you do that? How do you get up and do that? It's simple. You find a show and you get up and you try it. And I tell everybody, try it. If you have a fear of public speaking, try it. Just get up there and do it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 if you got it. Get up there and try it. If you think it's something that you would want to do for a while, get up and try it. You may get up there and hate it. You may get up there and see the crowd and see all the eyes looking at you, patiently waiting for you to say something, and it could strike the fear of God into you. And if you hit that moment, you're like, "Oh my God, get me out of here," you bail. And I've seen it happen. I've worked on shows where a comic goes up, he has 1 or 2 jokes that just don't work, and he's like, "Nope, I'm out."
Just shut down, and exit stage left.
That's it. And so, like I said,
I assume that's never happened.
I have not had I have not had that happen, because I like to. I applaud myself for being a freaking warrior. You put me in a biker bar.
I believe it.
In the middle of Kansas. You put me in a room of people that barely speak English. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to do every single minute of that time. I ain't bailing.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you've played it. You've performed at different places. You certainly seems like you have a great background from then till now. How has your journey affect your material? I mean, I watched some on YouTube, and you've got some really great stuff. I watched some of that crowd work you did I saw on your channel, and that was awesome. Not easy stuff, and not easy at all. So how does that journey from where you were doing a fundraiser for Carteret to now where you're performing in front of big audiences? How does that impact, like, not only you getting into that place mentally, but like what you're going to prepare in advance?
So as far as the material goes, every comic has an act. They have stuff that they pull out of their back pocket and they go into. Now, me personally, I like to play with the crowd, as you saw in some of my clips. I like to kind of interact with them, because comedy is a very intimate thing. When you go to a comedy show, you become one with this person that's up on stage with you, whether you want to or not. And it can be a delightful thing. It can be very uncomfortable for some people, but the bottom line is, to be. This is a very intimate thing. Even in a theater with like a Bill Burr, it's intimate. It's you and him, and you and her, whoever's up there on that stage. So you always know that kind of going into it, and that intimacy it brings the thoughts out, and then there's a lot of writing on stage. So there are times when I'll just I'll see a couple and I'll start teasing up the couple, and something stupid will come to mind, and I'll blurt it out. Now it may hit and I get a laugh, or it may fall dead, but more likely than not, that's if it works, it stays. And there's been plenty of jokes that hit that first time. It's like, yep, that one made it. There are other times where you actually try to write on a certain topic because maybe it's topical, maybe it's an edgy thing, and it just like doesn't. Everybody's different. It doesn't always come together. For me, it has to come to me. If I try to write something, it just doesn't work. But I speak to what's going on in the moment and the things I experience, really. And the whole point is I try to make it original as possible, because everybody is biting off each other. And once you are labeled, or once you're associated with being a comic who bites off a bit, that's it. No comic is going to respect you. You're going to get a bad reputation, and you can really hurt your bookings.
That's why we haven't heard from Carlos Mencias since high school.
Exactly right.
So and you mentioned, it's interesting. You talked about, preparing versus crowd work. I've actually seen some comedians who've had good material, and they'll maybe notice that's just good, and then they just go into crowd work, and they just on the improv, just nail it. Like, I'm laughing harder at the crowd work than I am at the material. I wish I could be that fast. I wish I could be like, have that ability to be like, what do you do? I do X. Well, and I just turned it into just, good content. Where do you find that? Like, is it experience? Is it kind of having a thought? Is it both? Like, where does that come from?
Stage comfort, really. You got to get up. You got to do it. You got to throw yourself into awful situations, and yes, experience comes with it all.
Sure.
So, when you first start off, you're doing coffee houses or coffee shops. You're doing somebody's bar show. You may be doing it in a room that's huge and there's 10 people in there. Just very awkward, uncomfortable experiences. The more you do this stuff, the more comfortable you get in that uncomfortable set. And then when you step foot in that fundraiser or in that comedy club, which is set up to accommodate the very intimacy, that very intimate feeling of a comedy show, believe it or not, it becomes very easy to work. So you get up in that situation, and once you've been doing it a while, the excitement of hitting the stage and that, oh my God, this is a comedy club. That's, it kind of goes to the wayside, because you've now it's no longer a shock to you. You're doing it. And so you can think on your feet. The more you do it, the more you can think on your feet, and you kind of respond like it.
Absolutely makes sense, and I want to. That's great, thank you, Robin. And I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier that stick with me. Is you mentioned that when you're with a comedian, it's an intimate experience. It's you, it's the comedian. Obviously, there's other people in the room, but that's such an interesting perspective, and I so agree with that. Because it's such a dynamic relationship that happens within this time frame. How can we, as an audience member, obviously, laughing is number one, as appreciation of a good joke or good humor. What are other ways we, as an audience, can be good audience members to you? It'd be good, kind of like a reciprocal relationship of respecting the material, respecting the artist.
That's a great question. Honestly, the best way I can answer that, and this is going to sound like a jerk thing to say, but it's really the truth. Be quiet.
Yeah.
Silence your cell phone. And I don't mean like laugh quietly. No, laugh. And when it comes time to laugh, let it go. Let it go. And those little, oh my God, that's so funny. That's not what I'm saying. Don't say stuff like that, but don't have a conversation at the table.
Right.
Don't text while you're at the table, that type of stuff, because, like I said, it is an intimate thing. And the reason is because both the audience and the performer are both very vulnerable with each other.
Sure.
Here's this comic.
So
That you said it before, you could say the wrong thing and you lose it. It's not just a fundraiser crowd, it's any crowd. Right. You say the wrong joke, you hit on the wrong topic, maybe you hit the wrong thing, and you make one person visibly uncomfortable in that room. you got a challenge now. Now you're in a hole and you got to dig out. So yeah, there's certainly a comfort there that has to come with that. And
Awesome, Rob. Thank you so much. And truly understanding the artist audience relationship. Obviously, be quiet if you're looking to offer genuine appreciation. Laugh, but keep the conversations texting to a minimum. Uh, Talking about that relationship, and the relationship has really evolved. I mean, if you look at comedy, I mean, again, here I am talking about comedy. Um, from when we were in high school back in 2003 to here 2023, I feel like
God, don't
the
remind me.
humor is just, you have to walk a finer line, and it's not always a bad thing. I think there's certain areas where it's like, okay, maybe there is some credence to cleaning up certain areas of comedy, but it's definitely we're in a very viral, more sensitive, for lack of a better word, world. How does that affect your performance and your material, and understanding that audiences can be a little more sensitive, for lack of a better word?
So I think comedians have a real responsibility to take even the most ridiculous, messed up, screwed up, vile, disgusting situation and turn it on its ear somehow. I think that there's funny somewhere in everything, even in tragedy and sadness. So I don't think there should be any restrictions as far as subject material. I think it's the responsibility of the comic to not, like, what's their intention on the bit? Like, are you going for shock value just to be shocked, or is there a point to it? Are you just trying to piss people off? Because if that's the case, that's all you're gonna do. You know, it all comes down to how do you want your performance to come about? Do you want to tackle issues that are important to you, that mean something to you? Do you just want to be an asshole, or do you want to take a soft approach? Now, early in my career, like the first couple of years, I had gotten risky. Like I said, I was channeling my inner Dane Cook, so I was trying super hard to like be that edgy kind of rocker guy that would say
Imitation is the best form of flattery.
everybody wants their "what's in my mouth" moment, or "who's in my mouth" moment. What was that bit? He goes, "Who's in?" Turn off the lights and go, "Who's in my mouth?" Everybody wants to do that effed up thing that goes, "Oh my god!" It gets the big laughter and is the memorable moment. But people, it's like you're trying too hard for that. And I did it too. I was guilty of it, and I pissed people off. And I had people come up to me and say shit to me, and it really changed the way that I had thought about it at the time. And I was like, "Ooh, I can't offend it. Can't offend anybody." And that was so long ago because it actually did cost me jobs. It cost me work and working for certain other people that I would do some of the material that I did in the act and then also tried out on stage. In fairness, in those early days, I took some risks that I would not have taken today.
But it's also part. It's also part of that learning experience. So you're learning about yourself, your routine, your art, and your art in relationship to the audience. It's not static. It's dynamic. It's always changing. It's always evolving, and you evolved with it. And obviously, you're at a place where you understand the relationship better, and you've been successful with it.
Yeah, trying to be every single day that I can be.
And,
I mean, what is success, though? I guess, is the real question, because comedy is such a grind, man. I mean, like, to me, success is being like Bill Burr is successful. So that's what I'm attaining for. Like, that's what attaining for. That's what I'm shooting for. That's what I want to get to. And of course, every comic wants to get to that. So until that day comes, I don't consider myself a success. I mean, I appreciate the wording on that. That's just the way I'm very self-critical. I would kick my own ass if you asked me to criticize myself and write out my shit. This guy is terrible. He's fat. No, like, I beat myself up in the worst ways possible. So,
and I'm sure channeling that probably helps a lot of your material.
I've been trying to get to that point, because all right, so for all these years I kept writing my jokes, set up punch, set up punch, set up punch. What will the crowd find funny? What will my audience find funny? And that's, I've my thinking has evolved. And just like what we were talking about, how I was so worried about offending people because it may cost me jobs, now it comes down to, I'm not afraid to offend somebody if I mean what I'm talking about, if I'm coming from a sincere place, if
and that comes off as authentic. Like you can't fake that. You can't fake something you're passionate about, and the audience can tell that too. I'm for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So, all right. So one of the bits that I do is I talk about my father, who at one point in his life was a bit of a drinker, and I would joke around about. I made a joke that he could fill a glass to the brim with Jameson, fall down the flight of stairs, and not spill one drop. Like, all right. And so, yeah, kind of cute. But somebody come up to me after the show. I've been struggling with alcohol abuse for a very long time, and I really didn't appreciate that joke. And what I had said to him was, it's unfortunate that you didn't appreciate the joke, but it meant something to me, and it's part of how I deal with the pain of that situation is by finding that funny point. Once again, I'm not asking you to accept the joke and to think it's the greatest thing in the world, but you're kind of in the minority here. So that's like the way I can approach it and feel better about it, as opposed to saying, oh my God, I offended somebody, I have to completely retool my act.
Right. I think that's such an important point that I would love for anyone listening to get out of this today. Is humor is a coping mechanism. Humor is people think I'm being funny to be edgy or I'm not saying maybe, people think I'm being funny to be edgy or to be provocative, and maybe it's true in some cases, but humor is it's a way of just dealing with a situation that's uncomfortable, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I think it's so important to acknowledge it. Like I've had, something terrible happens. My wife and I, we tell some terrible jokes, but it helps us kind of just look at the situation, acknowledge the situation, make the best of it, and move forward. And I think I'm sure you can probably talk more about that too. Is humor as a coping mechanism?
Absolutely. Any pain in your life, there's an opposite side to that, and that's what we try to get to. So you're trying to escape the pain however you can, so you find the funny. And that's it. Even if it's the most, you could come out with something that's just so messed up, but if it if it relieves that tension for just a second, maybe you. Found a way of dealing with it. So it's like, you know I
And
it's sorry.
who's to say, and I want you to touch on that next point, who's to say, yes, you had that one disgruntled person that you hit a nerve. Who's to say you didn't have five other people in the audience that were like, man, it's kind of cool that someone else has been through what I've been through, and honestly, it's just good to laugh about it.
When I look at the guy in the crowd that is just like, yep. And then, the other person over here who's going to talk to me later has got their arms crossed. I'm sorry. My attention is going towards the person that enjoyed it. You
Right,
didn't enjoy it. I'm sorry. You can't please everybody.
right.
I'll try. I'll give it my best effort. And like I said, my intention is there. I'm not trying to piss you off. I'm not trying to say something that makes you mad. But if in my quest and if in my quest to deliver what a crowd will respond to pisses you or one or two of you off, then kind of so be it.
No matter what, I mean, and you can't change an audience member's reaction. They're going to react whichever way you're going to react. You can't change that. But however, you're being your authentic self. Like, I think you should go up to the people that are receiving it positively, because it's a mutual thing. It's a mutual. You brought me joy, and it brought me joy to bring you joy. It's a mutual thing, and but I also want to, I also want to talk about, like, I don't want to end it on that note. I want to talk about, can you think of we talked about like that kind of experience, but you had that Carteret experience. Do you have any other experiences where you had a really just wonderful, receptive audience? Do you have any stories or thoughts where it's just like you just walk out off the stage and you're doing like the biggest fist pump you've ever done? Do you have a story like that?
I've got a few of them actually. Yeah. So like I said, and like I said in the New Jersey 12, the News 12 New Jersey thing, and like I've been saying
We'll
for
post a link to.
yes, that'd be great. Uh, but one of the things that I love to do is the fundraising. I'd rather fill my calendar with fundraisers that are half the money I could net if I did a private restaurant the same size. I would rather do that because it's such a good cause to be involved. Like even for school, like I did something for the St. Joe's crew team, and that was
Cool.
just because it was like, this is my home, this is my school, these are my people, these are the teachers that I thought were angelic, and they're all hammered or on their way there. It was like, like that is the feel good. Yeah, you go into a comedy club, it's tailor made for comedy. It's like you're playing baseball at Yankee Stadium. Yes, it's wonderful. Yes, it's great, and I love that feeling. You just don't get that when you do like a fundraiser to a house that needs it. You know what I'm saying? And so the first show we did at Post 5 in Rahway, you heard me talk about that. That's my home American Legion post. I'm active with the SAL there, the Sons of the American Legion. My father was a veteran. I take veterans causes very, very seriously, very near and dear to my heart. So getting to work with these folks was a real special feeling. And it was just all they wanted to do was break even and have fun. That's it. They wanted to get everybody together, break even, and have fun. They wound up getting like 150 of the 175 seats sold for their very first show. It was
Great.
me, my buddy Kevin Israel, who's a fantastic comedian, and Doug Karff, who's also a fantastic comedian. We went up there and we did our show. And it wasn't so much I got off stage feeling pumped up because I hosted the show. I just kept it going. But it was just at the end of the night, the place is filing out. The rest of the American Legion folks are starting to break down the tables and put the room away, and they just wouldn't stop talking about the show. They wouldn't stop talking about the headliner. They wouldn't stop talking about how I was ripping on Gary in the front row and his spiked hair. They'll always talk about it, and they still revisit it with it. But it's that feeling. It's that feeling, Dan, of giving these people something that not only made them laugh and made them enjoy themselves, but it helped them financially throughout the year for all the causes that they're going to take. That feeling, I'll never stop chasing that feeling. That's why I produce shows. That's why I do this.
What a great feeling. I mean, not only are you helping a great cause, you made people's night. And then these days, it's so important to have those nights and have reasons to celebrate and have reasons for people to come together as community. And I'm proud of you that you were able to do that. You were able to really just knock it out of the park. That's awesome. Do you have any clips of that? It's okay if you don't. Just figure if we could find. If you have any clips, I'd love to share one. It's okay if you don't. I just figured I'd ask.
I got to do some digging. I know I have some old stuff. I might have some video footage from all that. I really wish that I could I wish I had a camera crew for some of these, especially that. That would have been so cool, especially that night, because I've done a show for them every night since because of what we did that night. And they've sold out year after year after year after year. COVID really wrecked it, and that's just that one example. I've got tons of clients all over the place that I've worked with over the years and shows that I go do for other people. And it's the same feeling, even if it's not my show, even if it's somebody else's show, but like going into an Eagles post in the middle of Pennsylvania, you got mullets and Marlboros all over the place. You're looking like, oh my God, I'm going to perform to these people. And that's what you think originally, but you get in there with them and you like become part of them. You're eating with them, you're drinking with them, you're hanging out, and you realize that this show is everything to them. And so that feeling of, oh my God, what am I doing here in the middle of nowhere? This guy's got a haircut from the 1970s. You forget about that. And you just do something good for these folks, especially when you go out far out, like here in Jersey, or, in Jersey, it's very densely populated. So it's very easy to draw a crowd. But like you go to some of these small towns, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Vermont, New Hampshire, you go up there, that comedy show is their everything. It's gonna fund some of their activity. Like, all right, some of these towns will rely financially on the turnout from the show, and like it's the only entertainment they may have out there, other than a movie theater and a video store that's just about to go out of business. So like, when you get to do something like that, it really is so meaningful to do.
How cool that you can do that. How cool that it's a good cause. It's leaving everyone with such positive, good feelings. And that's awesome. And congrats, Rob. You should feel, you're your own worst critic, but you should be proud of yourself. So let me validate you there. But don't take my word for it. I think go see Rob. Go see Rob. He and I can probably banter here for another hour, but see the man himself. So today we're shooting this on August 14th, 2023. Rob, what shows you got going on and where?
All right. So I do every Wednesday night in Spotswood at a place called Ryan's Sports Bar. I do a trivia night there, which I do trivia, I do comedy, I do all kinds of good stuff. So that's every Wednesday night around 7:00, and that place packs up. So get there. I've been doing it there for a number of years. I love my crowd. They love me, and they bust my balls. I bust them right back, and it's wonderful. It's a good time. Come be part of the act. Let's see what else I got. Strasburg, Pennsylvania, the last Thursday of every month, I do a themed game at a place called Stonehouse Meadery. You can catch me at either one of those two. Those are the more regular ones. So here we are in August. This is usually the time of year that this is when you build the calendar.
Sure.
So right now we have a little bit of ways to go, but we have a bunch of Comedy Haven fundraisers. We got one for the Avenel Fire Department coming up.
Awesome.
We have to get a date set for Woodbridge football program, Colonia hockey. I do a whole lot for them out there. American Legions all over the place. We're going to be in Newton in November. We're going to be in Rahway back in February. Probably Denville at some point. They've been talking with me too. Like I said, I love doing those. I've got gigs for other people all over the place. If you guys just check my social media, you get to see all my dates. Check out my website, thecomedyhaven.com. You can see all the ways to get. What's that?
We'll absolutely share it. For sure, we will absolutely put it. So Rob's working hard, everyone. Rob's working hard. Wednesdays in Spotswood, Thursdays in Pennsylvania and Stroudsburg. We're a very Central Jersey, PA-esque podcast, so Rob's definitely going to be local. And if he's not local, take the trip. Take the trip. Give him a shot. He's someone worth checking out. So with that said, Rob, any closing notes for the Real People podcast before we sign off?
Closing notes for the Real People podcast.
Let's see. What would you like? Anything you feel like maybe we didn't cover, we missed. If they were to take one thing away from this interview, what would you want them to take away?
I would want them to take away that Dan Farr is way is a very, very funny guy. He's running doing a good job keeping this podcast nice and moving and asking some serious questions and things like that. But there is a funny ass dude behind that seriousness. So, get to know Dan a little bit. Enjoy the podcast if this is your first time listening, and check out some of the other episodes. Dan's a hell of a guy. I've known him for very long. As far as that goes, get out to the shows. Go support a fundraiser. Go support even go to a bringer. If you happen to see somebody, hey, I'm trying to get my start as a comic, go support them. If you got a friend, family who's going to do it, like I said, I don't like the bringers, but support your comic friends, support your entertainer friends, go out to their stuff, buy their shirts, buy their magnets, go support them. They're trying to pursue their dream. Encourage that, foster it. Go see them, go support it. And like I said, go support those causes. Yeah, you might say to yourself, it's an American Legion. Do I really want to go down there? Yeah, you do. They're a lot nicer than you think. The food is good when they do a nice dinner or you bring your own. And the events are always a good time. So go support some good causes. And that's it. Keep laughing. For sure. It's so important these days to be laughing. And I'm glad that we count on someone like Rob to make us laugh. Check Rob out. We'll share his information below. Again, Wednesday Spotswood, Thursdays in East Stroudsburg. Rob, you've been a great guest. Thanks for sharing your story with us. I hope anyone that has ever thought about comedy heard Rob and was like, this seems like a path forward. And if Rob ever wants to take any questions, we'll leave his contact information there too. Definitely. Anyone that's looking to just pick his brain for any information. Thanks, Rob. This has been the Real People Podcast. I'm Dan. And again, great guest, not guest. Rob, thanks so much. Have a great night, everyone. Dan, thank you so much, man.